Alright, this week I'm starting a new series, kind of similar to the previous one in that I'm changing the colors of characters, but this time I'm looking into the series of Super Smash Bros. And making new alternate skins and color palettes for a bunch of the characters. And I'm not just trying to make cool looking color schemes, I'm actually trying to make these resemble things from the character's past and be actual cool references to stuff. I'm probably going to make a couple videos for this series, just doing a couple characters at a time, because I have a lot of different skins I made for each character. So to get right into it, we're going to start with, of course, Mario. The first one I made is a reference to the 1990s garbage Super Mario movie, where they look like this. And these are specifically the colors of the outfits that Mario and Luigi are wearing on the cover art of the movie. This I actually kind of like as a color scheme. It looks pretty cool regardless of the not-so-cool thing it references. Next up, I have one to represent Mario's sprite in Super Mario Bros. 3, where he was very vibrant red and black. And this is of course not what he actually looked like at the time, this is just how the sprite showed him. On the cover he actually looked like Mario, but this is just taking the sprite colors. And then I did something similar, but with Super Mario Bros. 2, where it's pretty much the same thing, but with blue accents. And then I did one for the sprite of Super Mario Land, which is of course a grayscale color palette, so this kind of makes Mario look like some old Mickey Mouse cartoon, or like Sora's one black and white skin. Then a color scheme to represent his outfit, which for whatever reason is fully blue on the cover of the NES port of Mario Bros. And he also has sort of ginger hair in this. Next up, we have one that simply just references one of his power-ups, being the ice suit, giving him the blue hat and shirt and then the red overalls. Moving on to Luigi, I did one that is literally just Gooigi from Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm pretty proud of the way this one turned out, the way I was able to get the texture to go on. I again did Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario Bros. 2, so here's the Super Mario Bros. 3 Luigi with the black and green, and then the Super Mario Bros. 2 Luigi with the more vibrant green and blue. And then I did one more, which I actually added some features to, being Mr. L, Luigi's persona in Super Paper Mario. Here I added the bandana and the little mask, because some characters, their alternate skins just change the colors, but others, they actually get unique features, so this is one of those, pretty much. Moving on to Kirby, I have two that reference two of my favorite alternate color palettes he has in Kirby Squeak Squad, being the Carbon, which is black and orange, and the Snow, which is white and pinkish red. In Kirby Squeak Squad, you can collect different spray paint colors to just change Kirby's color. It's just an aesthetic difference, but that's of course also what the skins in Smash are, so I just carried that over. Then I did one to represent Stone Kirby, specifically the color scheme and how it appears in Kirby 64. So I came up with this, and then something similar, Metal Kirby, which I tried my best to make it look faceted, which didn't really turn out too good, but I tried my best here, and this is what I got. Then I did one to represent Nightmare as he appears in Kirby's Adventure, specifically the ball form, giving Kirby a sort of cool colored gradient and stars on his body. And then lastly, I did one to represent Void, or Void Soul, I forget which one this specifically is, and this would be one of the ones that is more so not a color palette swap, but an actual character swap, kind of, because I even changed the face to be the Kirby face that Void has. Then for Link, unfortunately I must say, some of these characters I'm not really too invested into their series. Link is one of them, so I didn't have as many good ideas going. For some of the Mario characters, I was really getting into this, but some other characters, especially for the later videos, when I get to characters I care about less, I'm probably gonna have less to go for. Anyway, Link, I did a reference to his Link to the Past sprite, where he has that pink hair for whatever reason. Then one to his Link's Awakening sprite, with that nice old Game Boy art style, and only two colors, the tan and green. Then one to represent Zora Link from, I believe, Majora's Mask. I made his skin blue to sort of represent how that form has blue skin. And I specifically made this a variant of his Hero of the Wild version that actually has the hat, because the hat sort of resembles the little fin on the head of the Zora Link. And then I changed the weapons to match the color of the fish guitar thing it's holding. I'm sorry guys, I've somehow never played Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time, so I don't know too much about that, sorry. Anyway, I'll get there one day. Next, I did want to resemble Aghanim from Link to the Past, which afterwards I realized that was kind of dumb of me. This should have been Ganondorf I did for this, because Aghanim is Ganon But I did Link for some reason. It was a character that came to mind in the moment. It did come out looking pretty cool, though. I even made a couple different variants of it here, experimenting with different color schemes, just slightly altered. Moving on, I did one for Samus, which is a reference to, I believe, Psylux from one of the Metroid Prime games with a blue and like neon green color scheme, which looks pretty cool. I would have given this to Dark Samus, but that's already kind of close to what her regular colors are, so I just gave it to regular Samus instead. Moving on to Banjo and Kazooie. The first one I did is a reference to Captain Blubber, the hippo from Treasure Trove Cove, where Banjo gains Captain Blubber's color scheme, and Kazooie just becomes a sort of seagull-based color scheme, because it's, you know, Treasure Trove Cove is a beach, so there would probably be seagulls there. Then I did one to represent Klungo, making both of them just full green, and Banjo's clothes sort of like washed out whitish, like Klungo's lab coat. Then one which doesn't really change much, but I just did it anyway, to represent Humba Wumba, making all of Banjo's clothes yellow, his fur a little more orange, and Kazooie a more vibrant red, because of the red feather she has on her head. And lastly, one that combines Chimpy and Conga from Mumbo's Mountain, where Banjo gets Conga's color scheme, and Kazooie gets Chimpy's color scheme. And I realize this kind of already looks like the pre-existing color scheme that they have, the one that represents bottles, but this is a little different, so we'll go with this. Anyway, then I have a few for Bowser. First of all, a Dry Bowser skin, followed by a slight variant of that, a Gold Dry Bowser skin. Gold Dry Bowser, I believe, has only appeared in, like, Mario Kart Tour, but it's an awesome-looking design, so I implemented it here. Then one for Dark Bowser, which is from one of the Mario and Luigi RPG games. This came out looking pretty cool, honestly. Followed by one to represent Fury Bowser from Bowser's Fury. I have two different variants here, one just showing fire coming out of his mouth, because why not, and one without. And then lastly, I made one Bowser to represent Wart, the final boss of Super Mario Bros. 2, who takes Bowser's place, so they kind of have that relation there. Next up, we got some Donkey Kong characters, starting with DK himself. I made one to represent Chunky Kong, making his tie blue and green, which are the colors of Chunky's vest. One for Lanky Kong, of course making his fur orange, and his tie blue. Then I did one for a more minor character, being Scoff from DK64, the hippo guy, making his fur blue to match Scoff's skin, and his tie yellow to match the little piercings that Scoff has. And then lastly for DK, this is a really niche one, kind of. This combines two things. First of all, Conga again, which is from Banjo-Kazooie, but he's clearly taken some inspiration from DK himself. And also the color scheme of the expansion pack, which was bundled in of DK64 and required to play the game. So in the end, we have a black and red colored DK here, which honestly looks pretty cool. Moving into Diddy, I actually did a lot more references to other Kongs here, simply because Diddy has more clothes on, and the other Kongs seem to have more clothes on as well, so I was able to do more of his color scheme. I did one for Cranky, adding Cranky's glasses, and then making his hat and shirt the color of Cranky's vest. One for Funky, which, honestly, I think this came out looking pretty good. I actually kind of laughed when I made this one. I was surprised of how it came out. I added his visor and his bandana. Then one for Wrinkly Kong. I have two variants here, one with the glasses and one without. This is, of course, based on Wrinkly's appearance as a ghost. Specifically, I believe the color scheme from this art here is from, like, DK King of Swing or Jungle Climber. And then lastly, Tiny Kong in her adult form. I changed his fur color to match a little bit more to hers, and then obviously his clothes colors to match hers. Then for K. Rool, I did a reference to a boss from DK64 being Mad Jack, who, you know, kind of looks like a Kremling himself, so that's what I was thinking here. I made his metallic parts silver, since Mad Jack has a bunch of rusty silver metallic parts. I even gave one of his eyes the same little mechanism, mechanical eye-looking thing that Mad Jack has, so that it's more than just a color swap. And his skin tone, it's hard to see, but it's changed just a little bit to match Mad Jack's more vibrant lime color. Then I did one to represent Baron K. Rulenstein from Donkey Kong Country 3, which I'm surprised one of his actual skins doesn't reference, but yeah, they don't. I made his cuffs black to resemble the black gloves he has, his cape white for the lab coat, and of course I gave the little headlamp thing and I put it on his head. And I made his crown black to represent the weird hair he has for whatever reason. Then I did one for Tiki Tongue, which is the final boss of Donkey Kong Country Returns. I even made his eyes black with red pupils, like Tiki Tongue's. And lastly, the final boss of the other Donkey Kong Country game that isn't K. Rool, Lord Frederick, and I made his eyes resemble his as well, making them glowing blue. I'm honestly a big fan of this one with the whole icy color palette going on here. Then I actually went back to Link and I made two more, one for Revali, which I have two versions of, one with a golden sword and one with a silver sword, followed by one for Sidon, which now that I look at it looks a lot like the one I made for Aghanim, but oh well, still looks pretty cool if you ask me. Then for Pikachu I did almost every single Pika clone as his alternate forms, the first one being Mimikyu, even giving it Mimikyu's eyes, with like the swirls, and another variant of the Mimikyu one where it also has Mimikyu's mouth. Then we have a Meryl Pikachu where he's blue, a Pachirisu one with Pachirisu's color scheme of course, an Emolga one with Emolga's color scheme, a Togedemaru one of Togedemaru's color scheme, a Morpeko one with the Morpeko's like hangry mode color scheme, just because that's a little more unique, and then lastly a Pawmot one, of course, with Pawmot's color scheme. Then I did Greninja. For Greninja, I simply did every other final stage water starter as reference. So we have one for Blastoise, taking Blastoise's color scheme, and I'm honestly a big fan of some of these. These are some of the coolest looking ones if you ask me, but that's also just because Greninja is an awesome design. Then we have one for Alligator, one for Swampert, one for Empoleon, which I really like, especially since Empoleon is pretty unique in terms of color scheme among the water starters. Most of them are just blue, and Empoleon is mostly black. Then I made another variant where the tongue is blue. The first one, of course, had a white tongue. Then one for Samurott, one for Primarina. This is also a cool one because instead of being blue, it's mostly white, which looks pretty cool. Then one for Inteleon, and lastly one for Quacklevel, which I made two forms of, one with a white face and one with a blue face, because I couldn't tell which one I like more. Anyway, I'm going to stop there for now. Next week I'll be doing more characters, but for now, if you like this one, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and thanks for watching.